Hello and welcome to Mars Hill, the show that examines new ideas and the effects they have on our lives, as well as old ideas and the effects they are still having on our lives. Our Constitution guarantees us freedom of religion, but does it also guarantee us, implied or otherwise, freedom from religion? Well, our guest on this program is Dan Barker, who represents a group from Madison, Wisconsin called the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And Dan, after looking through some of your material here, I'm wondering if you could tell us just what is the Freedom from Religion Foundation? What is it that you do?
We're a national organization that was founded in 1978, based in Madison, Wisconsin, that does two things. We work to keep the state and church separate, which is a wonderful American principle. And we also work to educate the public about the views of unbelievers, non-theists. Most of our members call themselves atheists, and many of them call themselves agnostics or secular humanists, and some other labels. We take lawsuits where we see violations of the separation of church and state. We do educational efforts, we print books, we record music, and we do media, and we have a monthly newspaper, the only Freethought newspaper in the United States. We like the term freethinker. It's a nice word that's in the dictionary that was in a lot of use in the 19th century. Freethinker is a single word, not two separate words, freethinker or freethought. And we're kind of bringing that word back. It never died out, but we're sort of reviving the use of the word freethinker revival.
Yeah, you know, when I first heard the word freethinker many years ago, at first I didn't take it that seriously because I thought, you know, like you just said, that it sounds like something that died out. Like, I mean, you think of H.G. Wells maybe, or Mark Twain, or George Bernard Shaw. But I was talking with you previously, and you had something very interesting to say about a group of German freethinkers who at the turn of the century established Freethought halls in various colleges, and today you're trying to bring this movement back. Didn't you establish a Freethought hall in Madison?
We have a building in Madison, Wisconsin called Freethought Hall. It was in the mid-1800s where there was a group called the Freie Gemeinde, which really was the free community or the free church, which happened to be unbelievers. Most of them were atheists and agnostics. Mostly in the Midwest, they built dozens and dozens of these Freethought halls all over the place. Most of them are gone now. There's only two that we know of that still exist. One of them is functional. There's a Unitarian group there. So we decided it would be nice to bring that word back again. A freethinker is a person who uses only the tool of reason in examining religion. Freethinkers reject authority or established belief or faith or tradition or revelation or anything. So in a sense, freethinker is just a synonym for rationalist, but it's a nice word, it's a positive word. Freethinker implies not just that you're an atheist and you don't believe in something, but it implies that you are a thinker. You're a human being with free thoughts that are not controlled by a church hierarchy or by some established tradition, and we think it's a very beautiful word.
So then, it would be a mistake, if I'm to understand you correctly here, of attributing to freethinkers or people who believe in free thought as having a set of dogma or having some kind of a political agenda, because it sounds like freethinker is simply a method, a way of looking at the world, correct?
You're absolutely right. Free thought is a philosophical position. It's not a political or social type of position. There are members of our group of all parties. We get together at our conventions, and some of the table talk is quite interesting. You know, we have some staunch Republicans, a lot of liberal Democrats, some libertarians, some socialists, a couple of communists even, 2 or 3 of them. It's a mistake to think that atheism and communism are somehow linked. I've only met 2 people in my life who were atheists and communists, but free thought really is just, it's a mental attitude that you should always be open to all the evidence, to all points of view. You should not be dogmatic. You should not have an absolutistic frame of mind, which I used to have when I was a fundamentalist Christian. There's gray area, there's relatives, there's a lot of latitude, and it's also a respect for the right of other people to have differing points of view from you.
Sounds interesting. These conventions that you have, you mentioned that some of the times the arguments can really get kind of feisty, but it's like, I don't know, I think that's great that you can have that kind of an interplay between, say, socialist and capitalist, and, you know.
I wouldn't call them arguments. It's a lot of fun. We get together. The people who come to our meetings really just enjoy being together, and if they want to go to some socialist meeting, they'll go to that. But the Freedom from Religion Foundation has conventions, and one of the catchphrases we like to use a lot is that whatever we call ourselves, we all disbelieve in the same God. So.
Now you mentioned that you also take on various cases as far as legally going. Could you talk about some of that?
Well, we always have at least one case in the courts. Right now we have 2. We're suing the state of Colorado because they have the 10 Commandments on state property right in front of the state capitol building in Denver. We think that the 10 Commandments should be more appropriately located on a church property or private property. Let those people who endorse that religion advertise their own religion. So we sued the state, asking them simply to move it to a church. Well, we lost at the first level. The judge said that the 10 Commandments is a secular document that is the basis for the Bill of Rights.
Okay, now wait a minute.
He can't possibly mean that, but see...
How can thou shalt not have any other God before me be considered a secular statement?
We gave him all that. The very first commandment, I am the Lord thy God, you know, the Jehovah, and the Sabbath day being honored and making graven images, which fly against our First Amendment. That would be against free speech. And if our country was to obey the 10th commandment against coveting, our whole system of free enterprise would collapse. We wouldn't have we wouldn't have a free market. But I think my own armchair analysis is that this judge wanted to boot it up to another court. He didn't want to be seen as taking God out of government. He's elected, you know. So we have appealed it to the appeals court in the state of Colorado. We have another case, interestingly, in Wisconsin, where every year for 40 years, a town there has displayed the Christian nativity scene for 1 or 2 months during the holidays. And some of our members in town sued and said it shouldn't be a town-owned display in a public park. It should be something that the church people display. Not a single church in town displayed a nativity scene. They were letting the town do it for them. They were not asking to destroy the nativity scene. They were simply saying, move it to the church where it's more appropriate. They were harassed. They got obscene phone calls. The whole town turned against these people. They finally moved. They finally left the town. Well, we lost that case at the first level. Judge Jones said the nativity scene depicting the birth of Jesus is a historical, secular display, and it can stay on a public property. So
I'm wondering, has there ever been any case, and if there hasn't been a case like this, I'm just wondering what would happen if somebody did this, where somebody maybe would want to, say, erect a statue maybe of Thomas Paine with, you know, maybe a choice quote, you know, that he may have had, say, against religion or about the supremacy of reason or something like that, and put it on public property, say, next to the 10 Commandments as kind of, you know, a yin and a yang kind of thing there. Has anybody ever attempted to do anything like that?
Yes. In fact, most of the times when you attempt to do something like that, the city people see the wisdom of state-church separation. We had a case in Georgia where one of our chapters decided to put up a banner a free-thinking banner. I think it was the one that says Jesus Christ is a myth. I think that's the one. And the city immediately said, oops, let's not have any banners. They took down all the Christian banners and everything. They realized that they didn't want something up there that might be offensive. Well, this last Christmas, there's a city in Illinois that every year has these huge life-size paintings of Jesus up in the park. And they went to court, the ACLU sued, but the circuit court said, if this park is viewed as an open forum, open public forum, then the city cannot be accused of pushing religion, then the paintings can stay. The ACLU said, well, okay, and they limited the term of it. So we decided to take the city at their word, City of Ottawa, Illinois. We asked for permission to put up a banner during the same time that the Jesus paintings are up that says, Jesus Christ is a myth. They had no choice but to accept it, because they just had this ruling from the circuit court saying they could keep their Jesus paintings if it's an open forum. So they gave us permission. We drove down there. It's a 3-hour drive from Madison. And we hung up a banner, Jesus Christ is a myth. While we were hanging it up, townspeople came out, were yelling, they were cursing. 2 of our people got their shoes spit on. I was up there talking, and somebody threw a snowball just about, well, it landed in front of the podium. And the police had to sort of calm the crowd. There was no tolerance in that town for our banner expressing another point of view. After we left, 4 hours later, a Christian Sunday school teacher came and tore the sign down and drove away with it. The police caught him, but it was muddied up. So I went down the next weekend and put up another sign, Jesus Christ is a myth. Hung it higher this time. Later that evening, somebody burnt it. They found it the next morning just all in ashes. So I went down the next week and I put up a nice big flame retardant with steel cables, 17 feet off the ground, big red letters, Jesus Christ is a myth, and hung it up there. Well, that next day, a guy dressed up like Santa Claus ran out of his van with a long stick and was trying to deface the word myth, you know. The police caught the guy, and you could still read the myth sign up there, so we decided to just leave it. So basically, that banner stayed up for the whole time, and as soon as the Christian paintings came down, we took our sign down, because our point is, we don't think our sign should be up there either. We don't think an atheistic free thought banner should be in a public park. A city park should be free of religious division, you know, unless you want to walk personally there and sing a hymn or something. So we said, our sign is a protest. This is fighting fire with fire. Ours doesn't belong here, and it will come down as soon as your paintings come down. So the paintings came down, and we took our sign down. And now the mayor is saying he thinks he wants to avoid this in the future, and he's going to disallow any permanent banners. Christians can go out there and have a prayer meeting and hold up a sign if they want. That's one thing. But to leave a permanently erected display either for or against religion, at least the mayor in that town is deciding that that's just not appropriate.